Right, well, hey guys, Sean Malone here, and
Justin Perry.
so just wanted to jump on here, make a quick video, and subject came up today. We were talking about, obviously, the world is staring down the barrel of, I don't know, what would you call it, the apocalypse?
Something like that, potential world war, something like that.
World war. I mean, we're laughing because it's almost like, unbelievable in terms of how quickly things escalated. And, obviously we all know Israel is the central theme and really where the grand finale of world events is going to play out. So anytime anything happens with Israel, it can be pretty tumultuous. But this one feels different, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The players that are involved is very interesting. A lot of nations that are mentioned in the Bible. And the way that things are playing out seems like this could be something very historic and very significant that, may have some end-time significance.
Yeah, for sure. As we're watching this unfold, the war in Ukraine and Russia, we're stretched pretty thin in that regard, sending billions and billions of dollars over there, now funding this. And it seems like we're funding both ends of this, both by giving money to Iran and then giving money to the refugee situation in Gaza, and then also funding the Israel war efforts. The whole thing is quite confusing. I don't know if you're having difficulty like I am trying to get my head around this, but it's quite the perplexing situation that we find ourselves in a moment where there's so many different, I don't know what you want to call it, flashpoints, or like I feel like we're on the tipping point in so many different situations in our nation. Financial situation, political situation, the border crisis. I mean, you can just go on and on.
Yeah.
And now this. And, one of the things Justin and I were just chatting about this afternoon, we're thinking about the scripture where it talks about, as in the days of Noah, people will be eating and drinking, marrying, giving into marriage. And, you look back over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the escalation of crisis, the escalation of end-time events, and then we just kind of normalize it and we go on with life. That's what we do. I mean, one thing, psychologically, we have to do that. Otherwise we'd just be frozen in fear. But I was just thinking about you guys out there today, how you're processing this information, as a believer, as a Great Commission Christian. What's our response supposed to be in a moment like this?
Yeah, I think that in some sense, I try to live my life as though tomorrow could be the greatest day of my life, and maybe the glory of God is manifest in my bedroom whenever I get out of bed, and money's falling from the sky, and my kids are walking in their destiny, the whole thing. Or tomorrow could be a day that I wake up and I'm shocked by very difficult things happening. What I mean by that is, and I certainly don't walk this out perfectly, but I do think to some degree I've been trying to prepare my heart for a long time that I'm going to walk in faith regardless of whether things are going really well, or regardless of whether they're difficult, or regardless of whether it seems like things politically and in the nations are, headed towards stability and Christian conservative leaders with my values, or whether it seems like things are headed towards shaking. Because ultimately, I personally don't have control over a lot of those things, but I can actually, in the midst of whatever's going on, look at the Lord and say, you are still God right now. You are still good. You're still powerful. You still want to bless my life and use me to actually lead other people to Jesus and to be an answer, a solution in the midst of shaking. And so certainly I don't have it all figured out, and it's not like I ever am concerned about what I see, but I do think that we should probably adopt a posture that we're headed into days that could very well usher in the coming of the Lord, which means that eventually we're going to be walking through some significant shaking.
Right.
But we were born for days like these to see a harvest, to see the glory of God. So that's kind of where I'm at in processing it.
Yeah, that's so good. I think most of us, grieving over the sights and the things that transpired in Israel, the videos that the IDF put out, the gruesome, horrific tactics of Hamas, what they've done. You know, obviously our prayers are for Israel. Our prayers are for the people caught in Gaza in the midst of this thing, the people, the civilians. Absolutely terrible situation. And it's hard to, it's like watching these things unfold and then how quickly we normalize it. And, you know, I think most of us, you know, have had many thoughts about, you know, I've had the thought, is there a guy in black pajamas going to be running in my backyard tonight, you know, coming after me and my family? And, you know, it's our reality is quickly changing, and the shakings there and the birth pangs are coming. I truly believe we're in birth pangs, you know, wars, rumors of wars, famines, earthquakes. I definitely believe we're in that time. But how do we, as believers, continue to stand, continue to build, continue to move forward, but also live with urgency and also live a Great Commission lifestyle? Because I really believe there's only, you know, there's very few responses in a moment like this. Obviously, we can pray, obviously, but I think the first response is, hey, we want to stabilize everything that's shaking around us. How's this going to affect my family? Is this going to affect my pocketbook? You know, that's a New York term for purse. How's this going to affect my livelihood? How's this going to affect, am I going to have enough food to eat? You know, we think about all of those primal things, but I've always been a big believer, you know, of course, have wisdom in those areas, do the things that you need to do. But I am a true believer that we live in an upside down kingdom. Meaning we got to give it away to keep it. You know, if we seek to save our life, we lose it. You know, meaning if that's the primary thought and affection and preoccupation of your heart is how do I protect and defend what I have and to keep my world from shaking, I think those things are good to do. I am a pretender, neither of those things. I am a protector and a defender, and I'm going to defend and love well the people around me. But first and foremost, I am a Great Commission Christian, and keeping our eyes on the harvest, keeping our eye on the opportunity. Think about what our unsaved neighbors right now are believing. Literally, I just had my neighbor drop dead in the woods behind me. Literally, just about an hour ago, they found him in the woods, and there's police going by right now. And you know, how do we live our lives with urgency, sobriety, but also with a joyful hope and expectation? We could just set our affection, Justin, on the fact that these are literally the greatest moments that we're coming into. Like the greater glory, the greater outpouring, the greater works, you know, what's described in the book of Acts, you know, are going to unfold in our moment, and we get to be a part of it. Like, I want to put my hand up for that, you know, rather than spending all my time scrolling for clarity on social media and trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know. I think the only thing that we could really depend on right now is the word of the Lord in our own life, can be faithful in the area that God has commissioned us to, you know, our family, our job, or whatever the ministry is, but also also having eyes of faith for a great harvest all around us, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, I obviously I follow the news closely. I want to understand what's going on, so I'm paying attention to world events. And I even have my opinions on the way that things should be or the way that they should go, etc. But none of those things are core as far as importance, you know. What is core is that God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose, that he knows the plans that he has for me. They are plans for my good and not for my ill. And so I'm praying about world events, absolutely, you know, and I'm thinking about what's going to be the best way that my family and I can walk through these things. But man, I want to grow in faith. You know what I mean? I want to grow in trusting the Lord. And absolutely. And, you know, our faith actually releases the kingdom of God. It's actually whenever Jesus would heal somebody, he would say, well, it's because you believed. That's why this happened. And so I think that's a challenge for all of us, as in, I think we can see it as like an opportunity that we have right now is we get to grow in faith. We get to trust the Lord more. And let me just ask you this. When has the Lord ever let you down? I mean, when has the Lord ever let you down?
So faithful.
He is so faithful. He is so faithful.
Maybe not in my timing, but, you know, he is
true.
absolutely faithful. He comes through. And I just don't want to see us as believers, you know, with all of the uncertainty, with all of the shaking, like, don't get knocked off your game. I mean, now, there may be things in our lives that need to get shaken away because, you know, they're not part of the kingdom. But anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited about the moment. We're praying about Israel right now. We're praying about Gaza. Hey, I'll go wherever the Lord tells us to go. If he tells us, go bring relief to Gazans, man, that'd blow my mind. But, go love your enemy, go love some terrorists. I mean, obviously not all the people in Gaza are terrorists. We understand that. We know there's a massive humanitarian crisis unfolding. I can't imagine, but we'll go wherever the Lord tells us to go. We just haven't gotten that word yet.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And one of our long-standing, things in Cry has been the fact that we've always been, for the most part, in the right place at the right time. And so we're holding for the moment. We're at the edge of our seat. We are ready. I mean, we even have the whole deployment. It's all built. All we got to do is just
press a button.
Just press it on and it's on and we're ready. Yeah. So there's no lagging here. And I just want to be clear to everybody. Like, we're not hunkering in, fear right now, or wow, that's too dangerous over there. We have not gotten the green light from the Lord, and there's a reason. It's either things are going to escalate wildly over there, it's not the right timing, or things are going to pop off over here. But we're staring at a real tinderbox right now in terms of world events, geopolitical events, and even potentially real end time events. Definitely birth pangs, without a doubt. Yeah, but it's a sober moment for sure. I'm so glad we have Justin on board with us now.
Me too, man.
You're going to help us navigate through this stuff.
Let's go.
Anyway, we love you guys. God bless you. Hey, by the way, just a quick plug. This weekend, Fort Mill, October 28th, we are doing a live crisis response training. We are looking for the courageous ones who just aren't going to hunker in this moment in uncertainty and say, I don't want to travel. I don't want to go do that right now. There's too much going on, blah, blah, blah. Look, you can't outgive God. You're signing up to go do kingdom. God will have your back in this moment. And I'm putting a call out to people with courage who, aren't going to get shaken by the chaos and the uncertainty of the perplexing times, but they're willing to say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to go be the answer in the midst of this. Yeah. And so I'm looking to infuse courage and purpose. You're going to find your tribe. And I'm going to give it all I got this weekend, this Saturday. It's a one-day training to become a cry responder. And I can promise you lots of deployments with plenty of sacrifice. I promise that you'll be uncomfortable and filled with opportunities to reach people in the midst of a lot of trauma, death, and uncertainty in the days ahead, because we know it's coming. So, but anyway, go online, sign up for that. We're looking for, what did we say earlier today? We need some more beards and biceps. We need guys with beards like this and
that's right.
And some biceps. So we need some beef. Where are the men? So we need the ladies too, but we definitely need some more dudes out there on these front lines. We're looking also for people with military backgrounds, first responder backgrounds. Yeah. The scale and scope and the intensity of these things that were going on just really requires some of those people to help with certain situations and certain deployments, first boots on the ground, and high stakes deployments. So we're looking for those guys. So anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., you can go to cryout.com to get signed up to be trained, and then you can start deploying with us.
All right. God bless you guys.